not too many people think about interesting routes nowadays. Most people want to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible, and I'm not against that in any way. Well, what if I told you one of the most interesting international routes in the world was in northern Canada? Let's make our way out the Whitehorse in the Yukon to start this journey. Whitehorse is the capital city of Yukon, with a population of around 28,000 people. Would you be surprised if they had a weekly flight to Frankfurt? First, I gotta stay the night, and I'll provide some context in the morning.
Welcome to Whitehorse. The local time is 3:20 p.m. Please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened and carry items stowed until the captain has switched off the seatbelt sign. Smoking is...
Good morning from along the Yukon River. After a rainy and cold night, it's great to get some sunshine today. And even better to get out for a run and do some sightseeing. I'll be honest, as much as Whitehorse is a beautiful city, and even my aunt lives here, but in this town, there's just not a whole lot to do here. Also, it was Labor Day weekend the time I was up here, which didn't really help at all. That being said, if you go outside the city and into the wilderness, there are endless amounts of activities to do. This is so appealing for tourists, especially in Germany, that Condor has been operating a once weekly flight in the summer between Frankfurt and Whitehorse for over 20 years now. Unlike myself, I got pretty bored after my run and brunch. I wasn't planning on it, but I guess I'll head out to the airport early and catch the arriving inbound flight. I heard that there's many German tourists that come up here, that some signs are in German, but I didn't see a single one. I actually found a lot more French signs here than anything you'd see in Vancouver. The terminal here is extremely small, fitting for the amount of daily flights here. There was still a big lineup to check in, so I went out to check the arriving aircraft. Just FYI, this is the closest you'll ever get me to plane spotting. I asked a coworker that used to work up here in Whitehorse about this flight. He said that German tourists just love the wilderness here. Some will go with a tour group, but most will just hop in a car and drive for miles on end. Soon enough, my aircraft came in for landing. This Condor 767 was delivered in 1999 and is still in its older livery. This flight is so interesting for this place of the world that everyone outside was watching it. Even the local Air North staff that do ground handling for Condor here were getting in on all the excitement with photos. The other reason why this flight is so interesting, this will be the last Condor flight to Whitehorse indefinitely. I'll get to why that's the case, but first, let me get checked in. I was probably the last one to get checked in, and I'll be honest, I'm flying standby here, and they gave away all the open business class seats, so premium economy it is. Condor has been flying here for once a week for over 20 years now during the summer. The main runway here in Whitehorse is getting renovations completed over the next 2 years, so the smaller secondary runway will be used, which can't accommodate wide bodies. Condor has intentions to return here after it's completed, but would like to send a larger 330-200. The Whitehorse Airport Authority doesn't think they can handle that large of an aircraft, due to the terminal size and the equipment, but I think they can accommodate it with no issues. But I think Air North needs to get rid of their crappy container loader, and they'll be fine. In the meantime, for Condor passengers that would like to fly here, will now have to connect through Vancouver or Edmonton. This flight was late to arrive, and I knew from the start that this station couldn't turn this aircraft around very quick. There was no delay posted, and boarding started over an hour past the original departure time.
Just do me a favor, don't work too hard, okay? Have a good day, man.
As much as I'm happy to be sitting in premium economy, on Condor it's just a regular economy seat with extra legroom. This plane is pretty classic, but has a few things here and there that bring it up to a modern standard. But I have a pretty bad misaligned window. A lot better than the row in front of me of the guy with no window. There is a full IFE available with USB-A on the side. Just make sure to charge your devices before you leave, because this is the only power available. The seat pitch and recline were also pretty generous. In the seat back pocket, you'll find the included amenity kits. I'll get into that a little bit later, and also inside you'll find a bottle of water, and there's also a pouch that includes a magazine, duty-free catalog, and a stacked menu, along with a safety card and a sickness bag. I found a menu in the back here, but this was from the previous flight. I guess it wasn't picked up during the grooming process. There's also a footrest available, but my backpack was blocking it temporarily. A blanket and pillow are also provided. What didn't help with our delay was there was a broken overhead bin hanging on by a thread.
Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Also on behalf of the cabin team, I would like to welcome you on board this Boeing 767 of Condor on your flight to Frankfurt this night. Flight time was calculated with 9 hours and 15 minutes. We kindly ask you to fasten your seatbelts and to...
2 hours past departure time, and we finally pushed back and made our way towards the runway.
Herzlich willkommen an Bord dieses Condor-Fluges. Bitte schenken Sie uns Ihre volle Aufnahme Sitz. Gleiches gilt, falls Ihr Gerät euer ist. Der Gebrauch von E-Zigaretten ist ebenfalls verboten. Es tut uns leid, dass Sie zur einmal Schutzhaltung auffordern. Stellen Sie sicher, dass Ihr Boot fest geschlossen ist. To open the boat, just lift the line. As to
after that amazing takeoff into the sunset over northern Canada, it's time to get into the IFE. This screen is very responsive, and has the same cookie cutter UI you'll find on Philippine Airlines and a handful of other carriers. There's a rolling map and a handful of newer movie selections. Although I'd stay away from the music selection. I swear it's just all royalty-free music. I'm happy there's USB power available, but this is such a terrible spot for it. Luckily, I had no seat neighbor. Not long after takeoff, menus were handed out. This amenity kit is also the same one provided in business class. It has your usual faces you'll see in any amenity kit, but I was so thankful for an eye mask. I also like how the lip moisturizer actually looks like chapstick. But you know what? This was pretty generous for premium economy. That's even compared to some full-service legacy carriers. The meal service was done at a very fast pace. It's just a standard economy meal, but premium gets this extra box, plus metal cutlery. The pulled beef lasagna tasted pretty good, along with the cheese and chicken salad. For dessert, there were some chocolate crackers and this Bavarian cream. This all tasted pretty good. There's also a buy on board menu available, and you have to pay for alcoholic beverages if you're in economy. But I couldn't help myself for some German gummies. Besides business class, there are only 4 lavatories, both in premium and economy, in the back of the aircraft. There was a decent wait at most times, but I was happy that it was kept pretty clean throughout the whole flight. Even for being on such a high line of latitude, this eastbound European flight is still 9 hours long, so it's time to get some shut-eye. Right before I passed out, they started a duty-free service, and wow, that's a lot of cigarettes. Waking up over the coast of Norway, breakfast was served. This was a toasted cheese pastry, along with some semolina pudding, diced apples, and a muffin. This was plenty to get my day going. I typically try to stay away from large breakfasts now. Right before touching down in Frankfurt, I'd like to share some thoughts on this flight. First, I'd like to mention I was the only Canadian on this flight. I don't want to sound rude or ignorant in any way, but you could clearly tell everyone on this flight was German. This flight only operates once a week, and I asked one of the flight attendants on how the crew staffing works for this specific flight. She said they flew into Edmonton 2 days prior to this flight, and got a connecting flight with Air North up to Whitehorse, where they'd stay an additional night. The inbound crew would stay the night in Whitehorse, then head down to Vancouver 2 days later, and head back to Frankfurt. I genuinely found this whole experience front to back to be so interesting, even for the lack of things to do in Whitehorse. But I found myself going out of the way for this flight to be so unique. Even one of my coworkers called me an idiot for not flying direct from Vancouver. Let's be honest, not too many people can say they took a flight from Canada's north to Europe. I'm just glad to be part of what I'd call an historic flight. I really hope in the future, Condor and the local government in Whitehorse can accommodate direct flights in the future, as this is so unique. I've known about this route for quite some time now, But I'll admit watching Alex Preglowski's video on this flight was a huge convincing factor for myself to take it. And sorry if I butchered your name.
Welcome to Frankfurt, ladies and gentlemen. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened until we've reached our parking position and engines and seatbelt signs have been switched off.
Upon leaving the aircraft and seeing the whole flight crew at the buses to the terminal, I thanked them all for their time and accommodating all my questions for this special flight. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, which was a couple years in the making. I'm so happy I got the chance to fly it, and you took the time to watch this video. I'd like to also thank you all for 1,000 subscribers. It's such a huge milestone for me, and I couldn't have been here without all of your support. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video from this journey.